Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's Monday morning. There's a beautiful gentle breeze blowing. It's still fairly warm. It was very, very hot yesterday. And we've got this magnificent weather in autumn here in Sydney town, which is ever so delightful. What I'd like to do today, like I normally do, is deliver another book summary, a book on a topic which I find extremely fascinating, and I'm sure that you will find it fascinating as well. It's on the topic of emotional intelligence, and the book is entitled Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by an author who's an expert in this area named Travis Bradberry. So Travis Bradberry has written a few books on emotional intelligence, EI, and it's one of those topics that has been made popular over the past decade or two. For many of us growing up, we always probably just relied on the knowledge that was just one type of intelligence, our ability just to be smart. But since then, a number of scientists, a number of authors have generated material that enlighten us on other forms of intelligence, and one of those forms is emotional intelligence. So what this book's all about is about discovering what makes us tick from a feelings perspective, and also what makes other people tick from a feelings perspective, and then allowing us to leverage our mental intelligence with our emotional intelligence to make us better communicators, better people overall, and able to understand the various aspects of our personhood. So this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, enables us to connect with our ability to recognize and understand our emotions, the emotions in ourselves and the emotions in others, and our ability to use this awareness to manage our behavior and our relationships. Because at the end of the day, we need people skills, and we need to be able to interact with others and to get things done with others. So if you're a family person, if you're a business person, if you're a team leader or a team player, you need to be able to connect with others in a way which is productive and empowering for both you and for them, so that we can get through the day, get through the week, and get things done. Because it's not what you say that counts, it's not what you say to yourself, or it's not what you say to others. It's how you say it and how you make others and yourself feel that is key. When it comes to leadership, one of the key lessons that we've learnt over time is that a great leader will always be remembered for how he made other people feel. As too is also true, a bad leader a person who's a bully, a person who intimidates, a person who's a narcissist. All of these negative traits generate negative feelings and negative outcomes and end up causing negative memories for people. So I guess at the end of the day, we've got two choices. We've got a choice where we can make a positive difference, or we can choose to make a negative difference. And I guess the answer that each of us are looking for are the positive differences that we can make to those around us. So the author here goes on to say that you need to be good with interacting with people and yourself. And the emphasis here is both on interacting with others and interacting with yourself, because the quality of a person's life will be determined by the richness of their vocabulary and also the application of that vocabulary to make sense of the world around them and to help others make sense through clear and unambiguous communication. We need to exert, where possible, self-control and self-management, and to be flexible in our approach to ebb and flow, so that we can dovetail and work and fit into the different social orbits, the different social systems that we touch on a daily basis, and to be a leader in our fields where possible. So the author goes on to say that to become emotionally intelligent, we need to first develop a thing called self-awareness, and then to employ self-management, and to use this emotional understanding to connect with others and to build those connection skills. So the author alludes to 4 basic components, and the first one is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to being able to understand both your feelings and your behaviours, and knowing why you feel a certain way, so you don't become overwhelmed with emotion. So this self-awareness is key. Trying to figure out what triggers you, what sets you off, what gets you in a particular mood. And in order to understand that, in order to generate self-awareness, what we need to do, I think, is to have a diary, have a journal, and to journal on a regular basis what our feelings are, what made us feel the way we are, what triggered that particular feeling, and then to assess whether or not that feeling is empowering or disempowering, and then also try to figure out what we need to do to either get more of those feelings or fewer of those feelings. So it's basically, the call to action is to do our homework, to try and spot patterns in our behaviours, and to try and understand and try us to become our own psychologists in terms of knowing why you feel a certain way, so you don't become overwhelmed and you don't become hurt in the process. The second element that the author alludes to is self-management, where we are able to behave properly and appropriately. This is very powerful, a powerful lesson, and it's so profound. The ability to be able to behave properly and appropriately in the various social circles that we touch. Now, there's no doubt that we have many roles in our lives, depending on the social circles and depending on the hierarchy that we enjoy within those social circles. And what the author here is saying is that there is a proper behaviour and an appropriate behaviour that must be employed and used within those different contexts if you are to be welcomed there, if you are to become a leader and a proper member of each of those circles. One of the biggest challenges people face is not quite understanding what proper behaviour is or what appropriate behaviour is, depending on the environment that you find yourself in. The third point that the author talks about is the social awareness, being aware of your surrounds, being aware of the environment you're in, being aware of the written and unwritten rules, the etiquettes that you need to observe and understand in order to fit in and to be a valued member of that particular group that you're touching. Social awareness is the ability to understand and to read those around you. We all have subtle ways of communicating with each other, especially in the West, where communication is more indirect than direct, just like it is in the Asian countries. People are more indirect in what they say, less abrupt. So in order to maximize your ability to understand and to be understood, you need to have an appreciation and an acknowledgement of those finer communication skills that come from reading people's body language and reading between the lines when people talk. Social awareness is helped by being able to take clues from others in the form of their body language. The next point that the author talks about is the fact that we need relationship management, where you have figured out yourself and understand those around you and are then able to leverage this knowledge to achieve better connection and better relationship management. The key being having figured yourself out first, having invested in yourself first, taking notes, having a journal to understand what makes you tick, what triggers you, what hurts you, and what pleases you, so that you can then shape, wherever possible, your communication with others around you. So as we mentioned before, you can get more of the good things and fewer of the bad things that work against you. Because we all want to be better social citizens. We all want to get more out of the relationships that we enjoy and to add value rather than to drain others unknowingly, I guess is the key. So we need to be equipped with the necessary skills to ensure that we have options at our disposal to work better with the people around us. And the key message there is to have options, because the more patterns you're able to identify, the more patterns you're able to understand, the better off you're going to be at reading what's going on around you, and as we mentioned, creating options to enable us to solve the many riddles, the many social challenges that come our way throughout the day, knowing that people are variable in their abilities and their behaviours, and what we're called to do is to try and be the leading light, the beacon of reasoning and to help people who can't really help themselves. So the next point that the author talks about here is the importance of being able to balance your logical and emotional sides to become excellent at managing yourself and managing others. Self-management, as we mentioned before, is the ability to balance your logical and rational sides with your emotional sides. You know, sometimes we have the right intentions. Sometimes we start off knowing exactly what we want to achieve, but sometimes there is a dissonance, a cognitive dissonance that doesn't allow us to achieve those things because our emotion takes over. Our emotional brain kicks in and causes grief and disturbance and disruption to all of those wonderful things that we intended to do but were unable to do. I remember reading a book just recently where the author talks about children having two aspects to their brains, one being the emotional, the feeling brain, and the other one being the thinking brain. And to put it in simple terms, the feeling brain is the brain that we have that is our primitive brain, where we go into fight, flight, or freeze response, where we can't act in a productive way once we see red, once we get angry, once we feel fear, uncertainty, and doubt, where our bodies are fueled by cortisol and we are on constant alert and we just can't rest and we just can't access our logical thinking brain because we are in defense mode, sadly, which takes about 20 minutes to half an hour to exit once you calm down, once you start to breathe, and once you make more of your abilities to manage your emotions. So what the author here suggests, where possible, is we create a list, a couple of lists. One list being the emotion list and the other one being the reason list. And these two columns compare and contrast your emotions with what you want to do and what your reasoning is telling you to do. And we need to have a balance without any dominance from either side. We need to know what we're trying to do, and then we need to balance it between how we're feeling and why we're feeling the way we're feeling. And at the end of the day, what the author suggests here as being a positive and helpful thing to do is to share your goals with your family, to let them know what you intend to do, what you're trying to do, so that they can be partners in your growth and development of your emotional intelligence and to help you along the way rather than to be roadblocks, hinderers, or partners in your destruction. So the last point that the author makes is that in order to be great at communicating, you need to be able to say the same thing with your body, with your mouth, and with your body language. So what your mind is thinking, your body needs to be able to understand and to share as well, because much of our communication happens through body language. And if your body language isn't congruent with what you're trying to say, what's coming out of your mouth, then people will be able to see through you and see through those words and not feel comfortable. And when people don't feel comfortable, they don't respond in a positive way, they don't trust, and they don't buy in to what you're saying. So the key message, according to this author, is to not send mixed messages, not to send mixed signals. Your voice, your tonality, your body, your behaviour, all need to be congruent, all need to be aligned, all need to be in sync, so that people trust you, trust what you say, and want to follow what you say. So the bottom line, the key guidance from this author, is that we need to be genuine and we need to be sincere. And we need to ask those close to us for constructive feedback to help us stay on track, keep on track, and to be able to start delivering on our intentions with our body language and our emotional intelligence. And we all need feedback that we can act on, so that we can compare and contrast what we want to achieve with what we're actually achieving. So there we go. Thank you very much for joining me on this morning episode, this 5 a.m. episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. It looks to be a little overcast today, but I'm sure that this mist, this cloud, will blow away, and like most days of this time of year, most autumn days will have a gentle breeze and clear skies here in Sydney town. Take care, yasas, and until we meet again, I look forward to coming to you from a different place with a different message of empowerment, where we can continue to learn, continue to appropriate in a positive way other people's experiences, and use those experiences, that OPE, to help us learn new things, us to gain more patterns, more understanding, more life hacks, so that we can live and enjoy better relationships and a better life. Take care from Jim's 5 a.m. Club. Yasas, and bye for now.